Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I have something a little bit special for you guys. We're going to be taking a look through my old single player world. This world ran for about 8 months from the end of 2019 to about middle of 2020. This world's very significant is because it was the first single player world that I actually put a decent amount of time into and didn't cheat at all. I kind of had that issue going through all my single player worlds where I would just be like, okay, well I'm going to use commands to dig this hole, and then I would be like, okay, well, since I did that, I'm going to use this command to do this. And I just kind of spiraled out of control. So this single player world, I didn't allow myself to cheat at all, and I actually really enjoyed it. It just kind of felt like a normal vanilla survival experience. Without further ado, this actually isn't going to be the area we start in. This is my main survival base right here. We're going to be starting in Spawn, and I'm going to be taking you through the projects that I did mainly in chronological order. Alright, like any other world, Spawn takes us in a relatively empty area. However, this is where I ended up putting the iron farm. I did this really early on. It's actually broken right now because when I put my world into the new update, it put in peaceful and killed my zombies. But this used to be a really good farm. It would spawn the iron golems up here. They would drop down below here into this killing chamber. And this is actually where we collected all the iron. This was really overkill. You could have probably just got done with one of these modules here. We'll go over that later. That's my witch farm over there in the distance. But right now we're just taking a look at this. This right here, the staircase, was actually one of the last things I did on this world. I was just kind of looking for a project to do on stream one day. And we hopped in here and we kind of just designed this from scratch. And it turned out okay. I totally forgot I even worked on this. So coming over here and looking at it now, the granite, is still not a great block, but I actually really like how it turned out here. So maybe I'll have to work this in my palette again soon. But from here, we're going to go ahead and jump in through the Nether, and we're going to run over to the main part of my base. Coming back through the portal, this is where I made camp and stayed for the majority of this world. Most of this was this entire wood mill I did toward the later part of this world. Once again, this was just kind of decorative that I ended up putting here. I made this in a world once upon a time and really liked it, so I kind of brought the idea back over here and revisited it. Honestly, I think it turned out better in the other world, but sometimes that happens. I like it for what it is. Now, if we just come right over here, this is actually one of my favorite builds in here, and I'm actually going to be putting this in Flavor Blast soon, so keep an eye out for that. Might even make a tutorial for this. So what this is just a simple little stables. This is my style here. I always build these buildings very Nordic. I find it really easy, and I just ended up throwing a little side off here, and I think it really turned out nice for what it is. It's just very nested in that area really well, and actually looks very natural. So that's why I kind of want to bring it back and do it again. A lot of my buildings in here don't have any interiors or anything, just because that's the problem with these buildings right here, is it doesn't leave a lot of space in the interior, even though it's a really big building. That's all I got right there. So a lot of these don't have interiors, and you live and you learn. However, this right here, this was my day one starter house. I was gonna end up redoing it, and then I decided that it was day one. I definitely want to keep it. It's sentimental. Down here was what I lived out of for a while. I lived down here for so long, putting all my stuff down here, and now it's all moved out. But down here is actually what really powered my early game in this world. This was my AFK fishing room, which unfortunately you can't even do anymore, but this was a pretty state-of-the-art room back at the time for what it was. I had all my books here, and then these were all the drops that you could get. And down here, pretty super simple thing. Here was the AFK fisher. You would fish in it. It would fill all these chests down here, and then once I got done taking everything I wanted out of there, I flipped that switch, and it emptied everything into a cactus down there and deleted it. Alright, so now we're going to leave this building here, and we're going to go to the next building I constructed, which was my storage room here. I wanted a really big building that I could have a lot of space and an overkill of chests in here, and this is exactly what it was. I got this building off of Reddit. I can actually show you again. This building was off of Reddit. Somebody posted just this front side here, so I used the front side, copied it to the other side, and then made these sides for myself. I really liked it, you know, put my own spin on it and everything, and it worked really well for what I wanted it to. So we're gonna go back inside, and this was the overkill of storage that I ended up going with, and this lasted me the entire time I used this world. I actually still use a method of this, you know, a bulk storage here, and then my rare items on the back wall here. This is probably my favorite storage I've had in this game in a while. Oh, and I made a download for this world at one point, and this is what I put. This was all my stuff that I had on me at the time of making this download, so I just kind of threw it all in this chest if anybody ever wanted it. Once we go down here, we get into where I did a little bit of villager trading. This was my mending guy. This was my mending guy that I used the entire time. So he really helped me out. I planned on doing a decent amount with villagers, and then I kind of got into it and got all the enchantments I needed right away. So I ended up just ditching that whole idea because working with villagers sucks. If you go right through here, this will take you to my super smelter. This was one of Mango's designs. Pretty classic, just a super smelter here. And I remember building this, and I had to rip up this entire forest and then replant it because I ran out of room up top. But yeah, this was my super smelter design. These things really come in handy. If you don't have one in your world, you definitely should get one. And then this takes us back to our fish farm, if you were wondering what that door went to. It was just a shortcut between these two buildings. Now if we go through here and go up to the roof, this was actually where I kept my bed in here. I just wanted my bed away from everything, and I actually have my bees up here. Alright, and the next building I constructed was actually just off to the side here, and this was my blacksmith. I did this one. This was again just a decorative build I did on stream, and I really like how it turned out. It was very similar to the stables. I just built up this main diaphragm of a building here, and then I decided to put a side off to it, and this is where I really experimented with the armor stands for the first time. And after you get a little far into your world, you have to have a permanent source of food, and that's what this building was. However, it's not this anymore. I used to have one of those automatic chicken farms, and it just sat in here. And then after I filled up a couple double chests of chicken, I decided to get rid of the lag, and I threw in a little kitchen here. But it used to be a chicken farm, and this is where I gathered all my food for the entire world. Alright, and right next door is our enchantment table room. A small building just surrounding an enchantment table. Ooh, and I never changed out the floor. That's pretty gross. Pretty simple stuff. Nothing too great here. Over here, I ended up decorating my portal because my portal used to be right out here. And when I redid this whole area and did this design, I ended up decorating it. I actually really like how it turned out. So I might have to do something similar to that again in the future. And this is just a campsite that I threw together real quick on stream. Overall, I really like how this turned out. However, the next spot I'm gonna show you guys is actually on the far side over here. So going back to my day one house, I had a day one mine right next to this little campsite, which I really liked. It was very beautiful at the time. But distractions aside, we had a day one mine over here. Nothing too crazy at start, and then just as the world went on, I ended up decorating it a lot more. So when we fill up the minecart down here, it will take all the items up there and it will deliver them all in that chest and then come back down. So this was a pretty cool system at the time. We're not going to go this area yet because there's something big I want to show you over there. But yeah, just a super small mine, and I feel like decorating your mine actually goes a long ways. Alright, and the next spot I'm going to show you guys is actually the first thing I did on stream. This was my first mega project, and it was just my mine. My idea behind this whole village is I wanted it to be a mining village. You know, having your town incorporated into the landscape and making out a story of how they live there tends to nest your area in a much more realistic setting. So having a small village over here, they're gonna have 2, maybe 3 main resources, and that's gonna be lumber, which they're farming here. They're gonna have any ores or resources underground, which they're mining here, and then they might have something through the river, which they have here, but we're gonna get to this later. This was my first main project I did on stream, so this is very sentimental here. I remember This is gonna sound really dumb, but I remember like getting a whole whopping 7 viewers at one time doing this, and I was just so happy to get those. And I was just sitting here talking about how I do the stone and everything. It was so dumb, but overall I really like how this whole project turned out. This takes us to the mine that we just saw down there. A crane pulling up some ore, and this is a tower that brings it up. All the ores up, and it's an easier shortcut into town. But yeah, overall I just feel like it was spaced really out well from town, and turned out really well. Alright, and since we're over in this area, I might as well show you this over here. This over here was something I did right at the end of the world, and I think this was my last main project. This was a small fishing town that I ended up throwing together just because I had this area and I wanted to throw some stuff up. Just a small little fishing town. I have some boats over here, and you know, just like threw some stuff together real quick. Also, every time I streamed, I would talk about how nice this bridge is. I did this bridge right after I did that my first night house, and I really love this bridge. For how simple this bridge is, it really turned out well. And this is one of my favorite projects on this entire world. I did this like day 1. But yeah, the bridge just overlooks the town here, and the reason this area is specifically important and I needed a bridge over here is because this is where I did all my day 1 grind. Like, I needed a bunch of cows for leather, for books. This is where my sugar came from, my sheep and everything. So this was like my day 1 grindy stuff. I at one point had a hut here that had a storage for AFK fishing. Okay, moving on, we're gonna get away from my main village and actually go out over here into this field. The reason for that being is I actually have some pretty important farms over here. Oh, it looks like that's actually broken. I had a carrot farm over here that I used for eating and making golden carrots and stuff. And right under here was a super jank system. But this is my villager breeder and everything. This is where my villagers ended up getting moved when I decided to do something with them. So this is where I trade with all my villagers and everything. And in here, we're actually going to see a relic that is broken now. This used to be a 1-tick sugarcane farm that I would use to trade, but it got broken in the update. And right over here is my slime farm. Doesn't look crazy, but I mean, again, it's a lot more work than it looks. You had to dig out a huge hole, make all the platforms and everything. And those actually go on right over here. I have an AFK room. I actually really like this build. For how simple it is and it just kind of being out in the middle of a field, I feel like it really turned out well. But once we go over to the middle here, we drop down, and this takes us to my AFK room. You stand here, and if you're in here anywhere, it's a perfect spot for the slime farm. And as you can see right here, the slime will come up through this glass elevator, and the honey will do so also. As you can see, oh, we just saw one. Alright, and I decided that since I was doing the slime here, we would kind of do a contrast in a honey versus slime kind of feel. And we made a honey farm right here too. And this was actually a ton of work to get all these bees set up and everything. And they don't do a lot of honey. Like, this actually feels like a lot, but it's really not. So I made a small little farm here. But yeah, I really liked how this build turned out. The next part of our adventure brings us to the Nether, and I apologize ahead of time. The Nether never looks super great on YouTube because of compression and stuff, but I'm going to try my best to show you anyway. Right up here is actually my blaze farm. I made this super early on. This was my first source of XP. Alright, here we are, and this was a super old school design. There's far better ways of doing it now, but this was my first ever blaze farm, and I just kind of decided to give it my best shot. And if I made this farm right now, there's way better ways I would have done this. But moving on, this didn't last long before I decided I needed a much better farm, and that actually gave us the donut. These were super great farms back in the day. However, anymore they're not super great because they're just easier to make for what they are. Alright, so the whole premise of this farm right here is you kind of just anger the pigmen and then stand here in the middle, and they all run over to you and they can't get to you, so they end up coming through here, falling into the minecarts and then dying. This was my first really great source of XP and still one of my favorite farms I had on this world. Alright, and one mega farm to another. This is going to be my overworld mob farm. This was one of Ilmango's designs, super great. So I needed gunpowder exclusively, and I decided not to go with just a creeper farm because other things come in super handy. And I'm super glad I did, because all the bones from this project came in super handy for the future project I'm about to show you guys. Alright, and pretty simple storage system for this farm. I ran this farm for like 20 minutes and got all the gunpowder I instantly needed, so honestly this kind of felt like a huge waste of time. But in the long run, I actually am super proud I built this, because it super made my life easier whenever I needed any mob drops. Alright, and next super massive farm that I'm going to be showing you guys I built here is my witch farm. So I actually designed this farm all by myself. You know, like, that's not huge or anything, but I just decided I didn't want to use somebody else's farm design, so I just decided to build this. It's a very classic design idea. Like, I think Exuma Void did this. We're just using slime machines to push them off and on, and then it shoots them up to where your AFK spot is, and you kill them using your sword. And the reason you do this is because you get your looting effect, you can get potions from them since you're killing themselves and everything. Plus, I also made a system so that I can decide to use my sword or make it AFK if I decide so. And this right here is my storage system. Pretty empty because I cleared it out right before I got done with this. Alright, and now for the main reason that I decided to do this world tour. The end. This is actually my main project. I got a lot of attention on Reddit for this project, and this was what I worked on for the majority of those months. Doesn't look huge or anything, but digging out the entire end island and reshaping it and putting grass on it and everything was a ton of work. And then I also had to kill the dragon 20 times to get all the end gates and everything, and just overall it was a ton of work to do this, and this is what I'm most proud of in my world right here. It doesn't look crazy, but it kind of feels like it is. Also, along with putting the grass and just prepping the island and everything, I also had to go in with leaves and vines and everything and make it look super overgrown, and I had to use bone meal to grow tall grass everywhere. I had to plant trees, and I had to design multiple different types of mushrooms for this. These are all mushroom designs that I did in a single player world before coming in here, and I feel like just fleshing out ideas like that really helped for this case. And a lot of these mushrooms I'm super proud of, but overall this was the project that, like, I would say defined this world. Like, when I think of this world, this is by far what I think of. And sure, there's things I would rather do differently now. Like, I would like to do some overhang on the sides instead of just one layer of grass along the top. I feel like that would have made it look a lot better, like flying in and around it from the sides. But overall, super proud of this project. And this is actually where I'm going to go ahead and call the episode. So if you're still here and taking a look at everything, thank you for stopping by. And if you enjoyed the video and you'd rather watch me showcase stuff that I've done in the past, feel free to leave a comment or a like. And if you're new here, please feel free to subscribe. It helps me out a bunch. And until next time, I'm Berry Crunch. Thanks for watching.